What is up, everybody? It's Monday again. What is shaking, everybody? Are we live? I think so. Hey, welcome to Morbid Mondays. It is Monday, October the 22nd, the year of our Lord 2018. Welcome. Glad to have you here. It's your old pal Bo, on the fives, ready to lay down some sweet horror talk. So let's start like we always do with a fancy look at what's been going on around the network in the last week since we spoke, and it has been some stuff. So what did we talk about last week? Yeah. Okay, so the Friday horror hookup with David J. Collins dropped. More Friday the 13th, and that ain't never bad. And also, by the way, I just saw this recently. I'm not always hip to all the news and whatnot, but if you're one of them people that thought this memo about transgender folks, there was some memo that came out of Health and Human Services to suggest that gender had to be prescribed at birth and you were only that as long as you lived. How about you go fuck yourself? You know? It's a modern world. We can do whatever the hell we want. Like, live free. You know? I don't understand the urge to try to tell people what they can't do if it harms no one else, you know? Anyway. I only mentioned that because I saw some of the Friday folks twittering about that, talking about how this memo had come out and really upset a lot of transgender people because you're telling them, I disagree with your very existence, and that's fucked up. Paul's here, Peter's here. What's going on, guys? All right, enough of that. I'll get off my soapbox about transgender people. Other than to say this, this was the final point I will make about this. If you have some homophobia in you, or just not even homophobia, just people that are different than you and you feel like they ought to act like you think they should, it's fucked up. Stop that. Everybody has an opportunity to live their own lives. Jimi Hendrix said it best: "I'm the one who's got to die when it's my turn to die." If you want to take my place, then you get to pick how I live. Otherwise, your vote is off the table. Unless I'm married to you or something, and then you can weigh in. But otherwise, go fuck yourself. Anyway, sorry about that. Cinema Beef Podcast number 126, Finned Imposters. That is Gary and the gang over at Cinema Beef talking about Jaws ripoff films. And I will be recording this very evening with Mr. Gary Hill. I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. Let's see. Pick 6 movies. Hey, episode 5 dropped on Friday on The Bride, the Sting, Clancy Brown, and Jennifer Beals film, and that I thought was a very funny episode. We had a good time talking about that, and it turns out we both like The Bride a whole lot more than probably we should. But what do you gotta do? The Bride's all right. Devour the Podcast, a bonus episode. So if you just couldn't get enough of me, then it's me talking about the movies, what I've been watching for Halloween and whatnot. But also, Vanessa and Court Psyops from Cinema Psyops joined me to chit-chat about The Haunting of Hill House. And we had like a whole hour-long conversation about that miniseries, just in time for Halloween. But it's filled with spoilers, and there's a time code on the episode, so don't listen to it if you don't want Haunting of Hill House spoiled for you, and if you haven't already seen it. Speaking of Vanessa, over at the VD Clinic, she posted up some stuff about Halloween 2018, and I haven't seen that yet. We'll get into Halloween 2018 here in a minute. Rabbit in Red dropped a couple of Halloween specials. I'll go ahead and lump them together. Halloween, this 1978 Halloween, their look at that, as well as Halloween 2 from 81, which personally I have some relation to because Halloween 2 is directed by Rick Rosenthal, who appears in Lost After Dark, the movie I wrote, as the sheriff at the end of that film. So, fancy. Cinema Psyops, episode 166, they did a crossover episode with They Must Be Destroyed on Sight, and talking about a little Blind Dead kind of films. It wasn't Blind Dead, though. It was like Castle of the Living Dead, something like that. It's that Jess Franco movie. I can't remember the name of it now. I feel bad. But anyway, it's a really good episode. You ought to listen to it. Cinema Psyops, I was listening to the Black Candles episode just yesterday, and that is a real treat. So, Who Will Survive, episode 19. Speaking of Paul, we'll talk about this here in a minute, sir. Doing the reviews of October, volume 4 of the October reviews. I've got a 4th volume to do this week, as a matter of fact. So, you're ahead of me, sir. Oh, very sneaky, Paul. Very sneaky. And last but certainly not least, a new episode full of Halloween good tidings from Friday the 13th. Chit-chatting about Halloween doings and whatnot. Okay, so that's what's been going on around the Legion Podcast Network. As always, thank you for listening. Subscribe, if you would, to, all those shows independently, as well as the Legion Podcast feed. We appreciate that. So yeah, a lot of good stuff, though. That I got to tell you, that Black Candles episode, very funny. If you want to listen to a good Cinema Psyops episode, Black Candles is good stuff. Gary is here. Hey man, I was just saying we're about to record here in a bit, so if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you may want to jump in on that, because already there are 3 commentaries up there for your perusal, but also we're going to record another one that will be out just here in the next few days, and it's going to be me and Gary and Scott Crawford from the Podcast by the Cemetery, a new show here on Legion Podcasts, and we're going to be doing the 78 Halloween, chit-chatting about that movie. So Paul says they're only doing one more show for the 31 plus a commentary. Sounds good, man. I'm kind of in the same boat. Abraham's here saying the last episode of Devour was great. The Nun just isn't very good. You are right, sir. The Nun isn't very good. I feel like I made my case for that. I don't want to get too much into why The Nun is not a great movie and why it's real dumb. But thank you very much. Thanks for listening. And Paul said he was listening to the last show and agreed that maybe he was too nice to about the collector movies. Yeah, man, I was listening to that review show and I was like, man, those collector movies aren't great. And you guys gave it a lot of credit for like, well, it's kind of a series. It's like, yeah, but, I've had a series of runny poops before, and that didn't make them good. It just made them, all in a row. So I don't want to compare. Do I want to compare runny poops to the collector films? Maybe. So anyway, folks, like I said, thanks for being here. And, as always, throw any questions you have into the chat, and we'll get to it here in a second. But as always, I come prepared because there's shit I want to talk about. First of all, we got some more light here. This is not going to be the final setup. All my furniture is being moved tomorrow into the house. So I'm in the process. This is my last night without like a sofa. And I didn't realize how much I loved my sofa until I was without it for like 10 days. And I was like, boy, I really could use my couch when I'm making notes on. Here, I'll just spoil this for you. The last episode of Pick 6 is dropping on Friday, and we're doing the Wolfman, the Benicio del Toro Wolfman movie, or as we call it, Wolfman. There's a lot of Fang Face references in that episode. Fair warning. But yeah, so all my furniture is being delivered tomorrow, like my sofa, my real bed. I've been sleeping on the guest room bed. Getting that in here, getting my real desk. I'm on a temp desk. I'm gonna have my full desk in front of me after tomorrow, as well as a shit ton of boxes that I've got to unpack. I'm not looking forward to that part of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a lot of stuff to be done around the house. A lot of stuff to be packed up and taken away. A lot of stuff to be moved in and unpacked. Not crazy about it. But after tomorrow, I don't have to worry about like maintaining the other place. I got some cleaners coming and whatnot at the end of the week. So yeah, I'm kind of done, going back and forth between places, and that's gonna feel pretty good. And also the Halloween season's about to wrap up, and as much as I love Halloween, as excited as I am for Halloween, obviously with everything that's been going on just kind of in the personal life and moving in the midst of that, and trying to get shows out because it's Halloween, you want to put out Halloween shows. We're a fucking horror podcast network, for the love of Pete. So because of all that stuff, it has been really hectic, and I'm very much looking forward to the beginning of November, because it's like I'm going to be able to take a breath, and we've still got more stuff coming. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to be a little bit, a little bit more laid back, and the schedule's not going to be quite as crazy. Although I got to be honest, I've really enjoyed doing the weekly review shows. I don't know that I want to do them every week, or certainly not like a movie a day kind of thing. But I think that may be something that we continue to do in one form or another, because I really like that. I like having the Devour show be a little more nimble, that it's not just like, well, here's this month's episode and done. I kind of like it that it's like, oh no, here's this month's episode, but here's this little thing where we talk about Haunting of Hill House, and here's this thing where we catch up on some other movies. And I like that stuff, and if you guys have thoughts, let me know, but I tend to enjoy that. And I expect that we'll do some more of it. So, let's see. Gary says, Gary never does commentaries. Very true. Paul says, eager to hear your thoughts on this last one. Yeah, here's the thing, because I moved and I have a bit of a commute these days. It takes me about 45 minutes to get to and from work, at this point. So I've had a lot more opportunity just to listen to the shows on the network, and I have taken a lot of enjoyment out of that. So, it's great. Paul also says Poops may have more development than the Collector series. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, it depends on the consistency, I suppose. Gary says, I had 2 days of meatloaf left over, so my poops have been ample, since we're sharing. Man, I'll tell you, there is nothing quite like one of those like double quarter pounder poops. One of those that like has its own zip code. The kind of poop that you as soon as you deliver it unto the world, you're like, I might clog something with this one. This could cause a problem. Since we're sharing, Abraham says, I actually like that Wolfman movie. I feel like I'm the only one. Lol, he says. Maybe that Wolfman movie isn't very good. We go into it, like when you hear the Pick 6 episode, I got a little bit angry. I will fully admit that. I was a little beside myself during that particular episode. So I apologize in advance. I had not been drinking, I promise. I was just angry. Because of how unnecessary some of the shit in that movie is. Anyway. Let's talk about what I came to talk about. Hey, if you want to check out over there's the green screen that I can't put up yet because I don't have the rig for it. That's coming tomorrow too. Yeah, anyway. Hey, that Halloween movie, what came out? Hey, let's get out of my face. Get it out of my face. So let's, okay, I haven't seen the new Halloween yet. I will see it as soon as I possibly can. That's probably, like I said, moving and people dying and lawyers and also Halloween. And I haven't gotten to the theater. I haven't made it to the theater of late. But I will, I promise. Something, probably within the next 48 to 72 hours, I will have seen that. But I know it made all the money, like the biggest opening of a horror film with a female lead and all kinds of these little caveats and stuff. And I said it on Devour the Podcast. I'll say it here as well. Every trailer I see of the new Halloween tells me that this is a movie I don't think I'm going to enjoy all that much. Because it's not the story I want. I don't want the story of Laurie Strode, who has for years and years been waiting for Michael to be set free so she could exact her revenge and whatnot. So I'm going into it with low expectations, even though I've heard everything from it's fine to it's really good. So I'm, like I said, I'm going in with low expectations, and I'd prefer to go in that way as opposed to like, holy shit, you guys, they made another Halloween movie. I can't wait to see this thing. I'd rather go in like, this isn't really the story that I really want to see. Like, I don't know what I want to see exactly, but it's like pornography. I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it. And the trailers, the way that the trailers suggest the movie is going to play out, is not necessarily what I'm interested in. But I also haven't pursued spoilers or anything like that, so I could be way off base as to what that movie is about. But that said, how fucking cool is it, you guys, that Halloween is one of the biggest movies of the year? Like, Halloween had turned into like that bargain basement Halloween 6 shit. And I know there are people who will fight me. Shut up, Justin. I saw Justin piping up in the chat. But yeah, but I think it's really rad that in this day and age that Halloween has suddenly become a hot commodity again, Like, even when that Rob Zombie movie came out, I don't feel like there was this level of enthusiasm. And I think maybe it's partly because Jamie Lee Curtis was coming back for the film, and that's cool. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis is great. Even if I'm not excited about seeing Laurie Strode as the Angel of Vengeance, the Sarah Connor, as Justin pointed out, that I think it's awesome that Halloween starring Jamie Lee Curtis is one of the biggest movies around right now, and like that, what's his name? Ryan Gosling. I'm an old man. That Ryan Gosling film where he's Neil Armstrong, First Man, like that's in the top 10 certainly, but it ain't doing the kind of business that like an Apollo 13, like it's not doing gangbusters. Maybe because of how much he hates the flag in that movie. But so speaking of, it led me down the path of kind of thinking like, what is making horror such big business these days? Because it happens so often. Like in the 80s, it was really big business. But it was fueled by the slasher films, like people loved turning out for the Friday the 13th films and the Elm Street movies and stuff, to a point. Once you got to like Elm Street 4 and 5, it was like, these movies aren't doing that well. Doing well enough to make their money back, but they're not, lighting fires at the box office. Which, by the way, don't do that. It turns out police get involved. But yeah, I think it's because much like the 1980s, the time is cyclical. For those of you too young to remember what it was like to be alive in the 80s, let me describe the period for you. There was a president that many people thought was kind of an old fool, who was borderline racist and was very nationalistic, was very patriotic, and at the same time was doing his level best to cut as many social services as he could. Also, there was a looming threat of international crises up to and including nuclear war. It was a tense time. It was not a cool time to be around. There was a lot of cool cultural stuff happening, but it was tense. Like movies like The Day After were incredibly relevant because everybody thought they were going to fucking die. Not since the like the Cuban Missile Crisis. I'm not old enough to remember that, certainly, but not since then had there been this level of like, oh yeah, this could all go up, like they could light the candle on nuclear war pretty quick. And it was a constant threat. It wasn't just like, hey, here's a rough 13 days in May. No. This is like all the time. That it was really tense. And I think horror does well in that environment. And I think that much like now, horror films have always been a way to confront the darkness, right? A way to kind of wrap our arms around a fear that we can sort of buckle in for the roller coaster of it, have the chills and the thrills and the scares, and at the end of it, the cars coast into the station safely, and it makes fear digestible. And so when you have all this kind of free floating fear hanging around in culture as it is right now, fear and uncertainty and doubt and all that shit, that having a Michael Myers to point to and say, yes, that's the thing I'm scared of. I mean, it's the same trick with the MS-13 stuff, except this is popular entertainment as opposed to political demagoguery. It's saying, here's the thing you need to be afraid of. And also at the end of it, there's going to be a catharsis, unlike the MS-13 stuff. So that's always been my belief about horror, that the psychological service that it provides is, one, being able to confront death, but also just being able to put a face to something that is much more esoteric, all those doubts and fears and neuroses and stuff like that. So I think that's why it's popular right now. It doesn't hurt that some of the horror films of late have been fucking amazing, like starting with stuff like The Babadook and It Follows and Hereditary and The Vivitch and, Blackcoat's Daughter and, any number of films that you want to name here that are these kind of thoughtful, dark, Haunting of Hill House, stuff like that has this real emotional core to it. It's just, I mean, it's a great time to be a fan of horror, not just because it's popular, but also because the quality of films that have become popular, that have become part of the national conversation, or certainly within the horror community, a big part of the conversation. Like, there's always going to be naysayers that are like, fuck The Witch is fucking boring and stupid. It's like, fine, if that's not your flavor, that's cool, because then you can go watch Strangers Pray at Night and we're both happy. I'm never well, unless you're Jamie, I'm never going to tell you you're wrong for liking a horror film, but also the whole reason that you do kind of critical thought about horror and horror movies is hopefully that you find somebody whose opinions you align with, right? That when, like, if I say, hey, The Nun is a big dumb movie and kind of a turd in the punch bowl, that if you agree with my opinions about other movies, you're like, oh, well, then I probably won't like The Nun either. Or conversely, you could be like, nah, Bo just likes arty-farty shit and I'll probably enjoy The Nun. You probably will, and that's why we do a show where, like, Jamie loves it and I don't like it at all, that you have some different voices kind of expressing those opinions. I'll tell her she's wrong because I've known her for years and I know she'll take it the right way. But no, if you like the Wolfman, like Abraham was saying, he likes the Del Toro Wolfman. Like, yeah, we really bag on it in the new Pick 6 episode, but it's only because partly that's the format of the show, is that we're there to kind of make fun of a movie, but also I just don't like it. I think it takes a lot of missteps. But if it does it for you, like, we also give it credit where credit's due. Like, that movie has amazing atmosphere, and Anthony Hopkins is incredible in it. And the actual makeup, when you get done with the Fang Face CGI shit in that movie, and you see the Del Toro, like, makeup that Rick Baker did, that's really cool. There's good stuff about the Wolfman. But a lot of times discourse about horror films doesn't have that kind of nuance, where you can say, like, yes, it kind of sucks, but here are the things that are good about it too. And that's what I like to do. Okay, I'll get off that soapbox. Well, I got another topic, though, here in a second. So, Pete Quint says the new Halloween is bitchin'. I hear Duncan say that. Cool. Yeah, I'll see it this week. I hope it's better than I expect it to be. But like I said, I'd rather, in the words of John Bender, if you go through life depressed, everything's a pleasant surprise. No, that's not John Bender. That is Lloyd Dobler. Get our 80s heartthrobs right. Gary says, what's your take on the announcement of the Critters and Killer Clowns reboots for Sci-Fi? The Chiodos have been teasing it for months. Killer Clowns is a weird one because that's so specific. That's such a campy movie and such a film of its time. I don't know. Critters makes more sense to me than Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Critters, I'm kind of fine. It depends on what they do with it. And I'm not one of those people that's like, they're going to fucking ruin Critters. It's like, nah, I can go back and watch Critters anytime. I haven't watched Critters in a long time. In fact, it's on my short list of stuff to watch over the next week. But then somebody was mentioning Blackcoat's Daughter again recently, and I'm like, oh, I kind of need to go back and watch that again. That movie's fucking good. Way better than I'm the pretty thing that lives in the house, alone in the house. I'm a little teapot that lives in the house. The other movie that the same director did. So yeah, I'm not knee-jerk against it, but also for Killer Clowns, I don't know why you would, because that movie is such a unique kind of snowflake. It's sort of like remaking like Society or something, where it's like you can, and you could probably make it technically better, but why? Anyway, Critters, I'm more on board with that, because even if it's bad, I can be like, they're alien little fluff balls eating people. That's kind of cool. And if they bring in, what's his name? Scott, I almost said Scott Glenn. That ain't right. The red-haired Scott kid. If they bring him back to be like the father or something, that'd be cool. Pete says, Gary, I'm thrilled. Critters are my jam. Yeah, like I said, I'm more Critters than I am Killer Clowns on that one. Abraham says Halloween wasn't able to top It at the box office. Also, Halloween doesn't have sort of the literary clout of It and the built-in fan base of people who have read the book It like 12 times and shit. Like, you can't underestimate the fact that, like, here's a Stephen King adaptation. People remember that miniseries fondly. The book is great. The Pennywise the dancing clown is creepy no matter who plays it or what he looks like. There's a lot of ingredients in that pot. I would have been more surprised if it hadn't been giant. Abraham says, I've seen Halloween twice already. Once with my cousin, once with my mom. I think it's good, but not amazing. Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard. Is like, yeah. Just don't go in crazy with crazy high expectations, and you'll have a plenty fine time. Gary says, you're expected to forget a lot about the series, but they have Easter eggs from the other films. I haven't seen it yet. I'm sure at the end of the day, Halloween 3 will still be my fave. I mean, the original Halloween is one of my favorite movies of all time. It was one of the first horror movies I ever saw because, it was popular when I was a young kid. Halloween 3 is great. A bewhiskied Tom Atkins is never a bad thing, and has a fucking great ending. Does Halloween 3. So, yeah, I mean, that's a great movie. No getting around it. But, yeah, I'm again, not bothered when a movie is like, fuck them other sequels. Like, if they came out with a new Nightmare on Elm Street, and it was like, fuck everything after Nightmare 3, I'd be totally fine with it. Because after Nightmare 3, it's all garbage. It's all garbage. It's all... At least with Elm Street 3, it felt like the people making the movie... This is always my litmus test. Are the people making the movie because they want to make a sequel to this movie because it seems like they have a story to tell? Or did a studio say, well, we're going to keep churning these out so you can make the movie and collect the paycheck on it, or we'll get somebody else to collect the paycheck for making this movie. And there's no creative inspiration for the movie. And I feel like both Elm Street and Halloween reached that point fairly early on. Gary says they missed their whole audience by excluding the flag. Oh, right. Well, but that's the thing. They don't exclude the flag and First Man. That's all a bunch of trumped up bullshit. Not President Trumped. It's just like there is an American flag in it. He plants the flag on the moon. That shit happens in the movie. It's a non-event. It's a bunch of stupid shit. Gary says, maybe if Del Toro delivered his dialogue like he did in The Usual Suspects, it would have been better. Man, Benicio Del Toro is all but asleep for much of The Wolfman. It's really frustrating. Like, Anthony Hopkins is just acting circles around everybody in that movie, and I think they're all fine actors. I don't think Emily Blunt, I don't think, is a bad actress. I don't think Benicio Del Toro is a bad actor. I just don't think their performances are very good in The Wolfman. The Wolfman. And Justin says, I didn't know until the credits were rolling that Danny McBride had a hand in writing it. Yeah, that was kind of the thing that made me initially curious about that movie, was that Danny McBride and I almost said David Allen Greer. That'd be a good combination. But that David Green were the ones who wanted to bring it back, and gave me some hope, because it was like, oh, they can kind of do whatever they want to some extent. And the fact that they're going to John Carpenter and getting him to do some of the music, and kind of getting, like, going and kissing the ring, bending the knee and kissing the ring, which most of the Halloween sequels did not do. And you don't have to, but it just seems like, why not get John Carpenter on your side? Like, get him out there. I don't know if you saw Duncan's video on the Podcast Under the Stairs page. And, all right, later, Gary, he's hopping out. But he was watching John Carpenter in Glasgow, performing his music, which I would love to do. I'd love to go see John Carpenter in concert. JC, as we call him, if you're hip. And, John Carpenter's on stage talking up the movie, and he's not going to do that for the fucking remake of The Fog. He's doing it because they did come and kiss the ring. So yeah, I think that's cool, there's a lot about the new Halloween film I like surrounding it, like, who's involved with it and the way they've approached the project and all that stuff. A lot of stuff I like about all of that. I just haven't seen the movie yet, but I will. All right. Enough bullshit. Let's get to some real conversation here. Some hot, sweaty, dirty conversation. I got to tell you about a movie I watched just a couple of nights ago. I've been doing that, kind of a horror movie a day sort of thing. And of course, I'm talking about the Amityville: The Awakening. This was the Blumhouse film. Where it's sort of kind of a soft reboot of the Amityville Horror Story, where it exists in a world in which the Amityville horror movies took place. The old, not Josh Brolin. Is it? John? One of the older Brolin the Elder. Him and Margot Kidder, that movie, and also the remake and stuff. And it's a terrible movie. Don't see it. It doesn't really capture anything about the Amityville horror stuff that will make you nostalgic about the original or even the remake. I watched the remake recently. I'll talk more about that when we do the Devour the Podcast review roundup. By the way, subscribe to Devour the Podcast on iTunes. And I'll talk more about that in detail then. But so I picked up this movie just because it was kind of a goof. I had seen that remake and I was like, let's see what the most recent swipe at this that feels kind of legitimate. And I knew that this had been kind of kicked from one distribution window to another, where they were just like, we got to put this out eventually, right? I mean, at some point, let's just see if we can make some money off of it. Like, it seems like today this movie would go straight to Netflix. But anyway, so it's the story of Bella Thorne, is the actress's name. And she is the daughter of Jennifer Jason Leigh. They move into a house. There's a younger daughter and an older brother. And the brother's a twin brother to Bella Thorne's character. And the twin brother had got real sick and is like brain dead essentially. And the twin, Bella Thorne, is like, how about we just pull the plug on this fucker? He is dead. He is gone. We are just wasting everybody's time. Hey, Alan, tell your wife she's welcome. We're not going to hurt anybody here much. But yeah, so they move into the Amityville house, and the kid in the coma starts to wake up a little bit, and eventually he becomes possessed and blah, blah, blah. It's almost a weird kind of remake of the second film in a way, which is a prequel, as they point out in Amityville: The Awakening. But look, I say this and bring up Amityville: The Awakening, not to bury it, but to praise it. No. I bring it up not because it's a great movie. In fact, it's a very bad movie. But I want to bring it up because, do you know how many Amityville horror movies there are? Well, folks, I'm glad you asked, because I felt like it was only right that we discuss, at least briefly, because apparently you don't have to be like basing it on the Amityville Horror, like the Jay Anson novel. So we have we we have the original Amityville Horror, which of course is in 1979. Amityville 2: The Possession in 1982. Amityville 3D in 1983. Let's see if I can get a better look at this. Okay. So, Amityville 4, The Evil Escapes in 1989, took a 6-year break there. The Amityville Curse in 1990. 1992 brought us Amityville: It's About Time, which was about a haunted clock. Then there was Amityville: A New Generation. There's Amityville Dollhouse, as you would suspect. It's about a dollhouse. The Amityville Haunting, which is a found footage movie. There is the Amityville Asylum, which only sounds vaguely related. There is Amityville Death House. There's the Amityville Playhouse. There's Amityville No Escape. There's the Amityville Exorcism. And then, finally, Amityville: The Awakening. Now, Amityville Haunting came out in 2011. Asylum 2013. Death House 2015. Playhouse 2015. Amityville No Escape 2016. Exorcism 2017. And The Awakening in 2017 as well. What the fuck, you guys? Why are there so many Amityville horror movies? And let me answer my own question, if I may. It's because you don't have to pay anybody for the rights to call your movie the Amityville something. Hey, what's going on? I can never. Is it Naomi? Is it with the long eye? Naomi would be the thing that I would leap to, but I think it's Naomi. At any rate, welcome. Glad to have you here. Alan's a good guy, seems to be. Anyway, look, I don't want to get in your marriage. Abraham says, let's make a film. Amityville must be destroyed. Yeah, right. Like, you know, there's part of me that really loves the fact that they've made like 14 Amityville movies. Justin says all of those are seasons of American Horror Story, or asking if they're all seasons of American Horror Story. Could be, but there are more Amityville movies than seasons of American Horror Story at this point. And I think it sounds great. I kind of want to watch them all. At this point, I've seen Amityville 1, 2, and 3. I feel like I've seen It's About Time. I'd have to go back and check. But I did watch Awakening, and then I went back and I watched the Amityville Haunting, which is the found footage one. And it is rotten. Because it's a family that moves into the Amityville house, but it don't look that much like the Amityville house, you know? Because not all these movies can shoot the movie like on location at the creepy house that we all know and love. And it gets to the point where it's just like, oh, they're just cashing in on the name, but it's kind of beautiful in its own way. Like, I know I just said this whole thing about like, well, they should make these movies with passion and blah, blah, blah. If they're making sequels. I'm talking about big budget, like, hey, I'm going to the theater with popcorn in a bucket kind of movies. If I'm watching this at home on Amazon Prime, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And I am delighted anytime now that I see it's the Amityville toe stub, the Amityville colonoscopy. Any of those I am down for. It is now my personal mission. I don't think I'm going to do it this month. I think this is going to be more of a, like, when I'm kicking my heels up in November in my post-coital Halloween stage, where I'm going to try to watch and track down like all of the Amityville movies. So if anyone's like, did you ever see the Amityville Haunting? I'm going to be like, which one? It's About Time, the Amityville Asylum. Like, just being able to roll them off the top of my head, which I'll probably never be able to do, is one of those things I want to be able to do, and it's worthless. And like on my deathbed, I will regret it, but I also want to do it. Paul says, I've never seen any Amityville movie. I have a lot of fondness for the 79 Amityville Horror. It's not a good movie, but I like it. And James Brolin is his name, the father of Josh Brolin. Pardon me. I would recommend it if you've never seen it. It's just for the cultural significance. People went fucking bananas for that movie when it came out. Also, the remake. The remake has problems. I'll talk about it more on the Devour recap episode. But it is... it's not the worst. It's not a great movie, but there are worse movies to watch. It's very much of its time. It is painfully like early 2000s. Abraham saying Amityville 2 is my favorite of the series. It's been a long time since I've watched that one. But I plan to go back and revisit all of them, including The Possession and Amityville 3D with... is Tony Roberts in 3D? Hold on. Let's get to the bottom of this. Because I remember that one being incredibly bad. That's right. Tony Roberts as John Baxter. Tess Harper is in that as well. And Lori Loughlin as the daughter Susan, who you may remember from Full House as, I don't know, the lady that Jesse's dating, I think. Anyway. Peter Quint says Amazon Prime equals no pants movie watching. It's the movie that, like, when I'm kicking back in bed and I'm not quite ready to go to sleep, that Amazon Prime has been my go-to lately, of just like, what terrible horror movie is available on Amazon Prime and why am I watching it? Alan says 2 is super sleazy goodness. The thing I remember most about 2 is the when the kid's getting possessed and like the sunken belly thing, where it almost looks like he's got like a dog rib cage or something. Alan says, super scary lamps. Sure. Paul says, Marco will make me watch it for the show someday. He loves it. Yeah, I mean, there are worse ways to spend your time than Amityville. Or the original Amityville Horror. Okay, look, hey guys. Seriously, enough screwing around here. I got here in about 15 minutes. I'm going to be recording the next Patreon episode. Hey, big thanks, Justin, for hanging out and chit-chatting a little bit. Justin, we haven't recorded a Shotcast recently, and we just agreed, like, hey, we're going to record the next one after we've all played Red Dead. So that's coming. Red Dead will be out on Friday. I will be playing a shit ton of it on Friday. And then we'll record after that. But folks, down to business. Hey, obviously you're watching this on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. We are 10 people away now. Is that right? 10 people away from being able to have our unique URL, so that it's not all a bunch of gibberish. And thanks to everyone who subscribed. And I'll probably, I think when the Halloween thing comes out, I think I'll do when I finally go see Halloween 2018, I may just do a video review of it here. Again, trying to provide different arms of getting information out to people and stuff like that. Extending the tentacles, the tentacles of Legion podcasts. So yeah, so thanks for the YouTube stuff. More coming this week. You will have new Pick Six movies coming for me, as well as the more review roundup stuff. I need to watch like one more movie before I sit down to record that. It's not going to be like last week where we did the big round table on Haunting of Hill House. This time it's just going to be me chit-chatting about the movies. Also, between now and when next we speak, there are movies that will be coming out to the streaming services. And how about I tell you what those are as a bit of public service. And I thought I had that file open, and then I didn't. But now I do. On Netflix, October 26th, Castlevania Season 2. I saw Castlevania Season 1, the anime-ish Castlevania series. I thought it was pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to Season 2. It was only like 4 episodes, so you could watch it in 2 hours. It was great. Also, they're dropping The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is the kind of Riverdale-esque, like, you know, how they did the Archie stuff and made it all kind of grown up and sexy. They're doing that with Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And I've thumbed through at least one issue of the Sabrina comic, and it seemed pretty cool. So if they go that route, it seems like it would be a real fun, a fun thing to watch. Then on Hulu, October 26th, Bad Samaritan, a film starring Doctor Who's David Tennant, where some people like bust into a house and he's like a killer or something. It seems cool. Like, it's a movie that's been on my short list of things to watch, and I just haven't watched it yet. I think it's actually coming to me in the mail in the next day or two, so I may see that ahead of the Hulu premiere. And then on Shudder, rounding out kind of their Halloween stuff this year, on October 25th, which, if my math is right, is Thursday. Wasn't even close. Thursday. Channel Zero Butcher's Block, which is another series that I keep meaning to watch and just haven't. But Channel Zero Butcher's Block is dropping, as well as the much lauded film Summer of '84. So some good stuff coming this week. I mean, particularly Summer of '84 seems like the real winner if you're a subscriber to Shudder, and good lord, if you're a horror fan, why aren't you? $5 a month, and they're doing the Lord's work. In fact, I just saw that they're picking up Mandy, so Mandy is probably going to be hitting that service sooner rather than later, and that's a fucking amazing movie. Paul re-emphasizing Class of '84 will be on Shudder this week. I haven't seen that yet. Yeah, I'm excited to see that as well. Abraham saying, have you seen that Robert Englund supposedly wants to come back as Freddy for one more film? Yeah, fine. Okay. If he wants to do it. But again, just don't do it just to do it. Like, if you need to pull out the big guns, like get Frank Darabont back to do another Elm Street movie and with Robert Englund. And I'm on board. I don't think it's a bad idea. Justin saying Mandy is a wild ride. Wild ride, sir. Mandy is fucking amazing. I love Mandy. Alan says Witch in the Window just dropped 2. Check that out. I did see that is on Shudder now. I haven't watched it yet, but it looks interesting. The stuff I've heard about it is like it's kind of one of those good family dramas wrapped in a horror film kinds of movies, and sounded really good. And Abraham asks, any plans to do mini YouTube reviews like the one you did for the Meg? Yes, I very much want to do that. The problem is time, because the video stuff it just takes a little more time. I may try to do that with Halloween. If not Halloween, there is nothing I want to do more than to sit down and just monkey around with more video production stuff. It's really fun. There are ways to be really silly with it that I really like. I just haven't had the time, but yes, there will be more of that. And also, talked about this forever ago, and then just things kept getting in the way of doing the Legion 100 Best Horror Movie Moments, which is a thing that I still want to do. And I think once I get everything kind of settled in the house and all of this is kind of in order, I'm going to have the space to do the kind of production that I want to do with it. And so I think that's going to be something, hopefully in the coming year will do. I've got a lot of long-term plans. If I cannot die in the next 2 years, a lot of cool shit is going to happen. No promises though. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what that means. So, folks, look, I appreciate you hanging out. Here it is, almost 10 till 8 my time, the witching hour, as it's called. It's not what it's called. But yeah, I gotta do that Patreon thing. Speaking of, if you would check out the Patreon. We got like 5 subscribers now, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it ain't nothing, and it's rapidly rolling up to a point where it's like, oh yeah, well that's our server cost for the year. And that, even that little amount, you'd be surprised how far it goes. So please check it out. Patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. We are, the 4th audio commentary will be dropping sometime this week, which will be Gary and Scott and I doing Halloween. And what else? I was going to say something else about the Patreon thing, and then I saw that Naomi signed up and said, Alan made me sign up with my own account. I'm still gonna hack his account, and it's Nay, not Nye. Naomi, fair enough. Okay. It's the AI, right? That's what threw me, but thank you. And thanks for joining in. Thanks for playing. So and then some marital stuff happens in the chat, and then Paul says Troll Hunter rules. That is all. Troll Hunter does rule. If you haven't seen it, also available on Shudder, I do believe. At any rate, folks, look, here's the thing. I need you to do a couple of things for me. One, if you know somebody that's looking for horror podcasts, I need you to have them subscribe to Legion Podcasts. If you're not subscribed to Legion Podcasts, where you get a feed that has all the shows on the network in one handy little subscription, please do so. Rate and review. We would appreciate it. There's not a lot of reviews for Legion Podcasts, unfortunately. So if you can take a couple minutes out of your day, hey, I'd really appreciate it. It helps, elevate the profile of the network and blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. But it does. It super helps. And you guys are great. So I ask you, because you're the loyalists, you're the diehards, you're the standard bearers of Legion Podcasts. So yeah, rate and review and subscribe and all that shit. You don't have to thumbs up or, whatever. I don't know how the internet works. I'm an old man. I was talking about Reagan earlier, and clearly I have no understanding of you kids or your ham radios and hula hoops. But here's the thing I need you to do besides all that, is I want you to have a great rest of the night. I want you to have a fantastic week ahead of you. Have a even better weekend on the other side of that. And why don't you come back and join me next Monday right here for our pre-Halloween episode of Morbid Mondays. And we're going to have the green screen back. We'll do some fun shit. So that's it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.